Whoa, that's the wrong intro! I repeat, wrong intro! How do you turn this thing off? So, sorry about that, some technical difficulties. Somehow the video intros for this and my next video got mixed up. I'm not sure how that happened. Regardless, if you've been following this channel at all for the past couple of months, you'll likely know about the episode polls I've been running almost daily. A 256 bracket elimination game where you all vote on which episode you all think is the very best, like no one ever was. Now that those polls are finished, I can finally start working on the related video where we go over all those polls and their results. But before we go and discuss the best episodes in all of MLP G4 and G5, let's first give some love to some of the worst episodes. We're going to be looking at all of the episodes that got less than 5% of the total votes in all of round 1. And you might ask, why 5%? Well, just because that seemed to be a good cutoff point, as it leaves us with just 16 episodes. However, as you look through these, you might notice a couple of episodes where you're like, I wasn't expecting to see this anywhere near the bottom 16. And that's completely understandable. Some episodes simply fell victim to the luck of the draw, where the episode itself is honestly alright, but it's facing off against something really peak. Take this poll for example. Twilight's Kingdom Part 2 has over 80% of the total votes, so even though Part 1 is in no means bad, it's just completely overshadowed by its big brother. Following that logic, let's get rid of that episode from our current list, and I'll also do the same with School Days Part 1. Is it a below average episode? Maybe, but bottom 16 material? I personally wouldn't say so, especially since it also got completely destroyed by votes for the movie and Shadowplay. So then, with just 14 left, let's go ahead and say some positive things about these episodes. Starting with the only Season 1 episode on the list, All's Well That Ends Well. Beyond the fact that it was paired up against the Cutie Mark Chronicles, I do think this episode deserves its lowest score. The story is just all about Spike being extremely jealous of Aloysius. Aloysius. There we go. Anyways, the episode is just not that entertaining to watch, especially with how unreasonably far Spike takes his jealousy. However, from the perspective that the show was written for a much younger target audience, I do understand the reasoning behind making this episode. The friendship lesson of don't be jealous and don't tell lies is a very straightforward one for younger kids to learn. And then next up, from Season 2, we have nothing. There was not a single episode in Season 2 that had less than 5% of the votes. The lowest from this season, tied, were Baby Cakes and Putting Your Hoof Down. The next one on our list doesn't appear until the end of Season 3, with Episode 9, Spike at Your Service. And I'm already starting to sense a pattern here. For those of you who don't remember, this is the episode where Spike thinks he owes AJ a life debt or something. And just looking back at all the stuff that happens during this episode, I'm now starting to regret my goal of trying to say something positive about all of these episodes. I guess good on Spike for showing his dedication by sticking to his dragon code, even though, as we know, we never hear of this dragon code ever again. Whatever. Good job, Spike, I guess. Blech. Then, Season 4, Episode 13, Simple Ways, aka our second episode in a row where some annoying child spends the entire episode harassing Applejack instead of Rarity. And even though the premise is basically the exact same as the previous episode, somehow I can tolerate this one a lot more. Maybe it's because this time it's actually a grown-up falling in love with AJ instead of a child pledging his undying allegiance to her? Actually, yeah, now that I say that out loud, that seems very reasonable. Regardless, one nice thing about this episode. I honestly do think it's really funny to see how hard Rarity is trying to get his attention. The one pony who is always afraid to get her hooves dirty in any way possible is suddenly intentionally dressing up in farm gear just to get the attention of Trenderhoof. And like, I could at least somewhat understand it if he was hot, but like, look at him! If this was my Stallions video, I don't think he would have even reached the top 20. He's giving off major Zephyr vibes, except that this guy actually has a reputation, it seems. Regardless, if I actually want to have time to work on the best episodes video, I need to get moving. So, next up, Season 4, Episode 24, The Equestria Games. Alright, so I won't be able to say anything good about Spike's performance during this episode because, well, there isn't anything good about it. So what else is there to say? I do really like that we get to see more simple random world building. Stuff like town flags, different kinds of sports like ice archery, and then several reasons why ice archery might not be a very good idea after all. Like, if the arrows can freeze a cloud, does that mean whenever it's raining or there's some sort of humidity in the air, the arrows just leave a trail of ice? And even though we never really see any of this stuff again, it's still a really nice touch. Then moving on to season 5, where we only have one episode, that one being Party Pooped, which, fun fact, was the second lowest voted episode in all of the polls. And why, you might ask? Well, partly because it was facing off against Slice of Life, which, as we all know, is an absolute fan favorite, but also partly because it's just not a very entertaining episode. The entire plot is just, yaks hate everything and therefore smash everything, which was kind of okay the first time, but after like their 5th meltdown, it gets really, really boring. The one good thing in this episode, or well, the one funny thing, is that we're introduced to Pinky's party planning cave, where she keeps the files on what every pony in town likes with the parties she throws for them. It was such a random, unnecessary reveal, but an absolutely hilarious one. We then completely skip Season 6, where the lowest voted episode was The Cart Before the Ponies. Season 7 then has one episode, which, just like the last one, partly got screwed with unfortunate matchups as it was paired against the Royal Problem in The Perfect Pair, but also because it once again was just not a very good episode. Not Asking for Trouble is this season's Yak episode. Pinky is assigned as the official friendship ambassador of Yakistan, and then travels there to celebrate Yik Slurb. Alright, never mind. Why do I make myself say all these impossible holidays? Here, this, whatever. This episode is also just a bunch of yak smash and don't need pony help. And honestly, I don't have anything positive to say about this episode. I really tried so far, but even the lesson of this episode sucks. The main 6 sneak into Yakistan at night to clean everything up, even though Prince Rutherford was very against that idea. And then, when he catches them leaving, he thanks Pinky, but lies to his entire village, claiming that he was right all along. So, what lesson should we learn from this exactly? Go behind your friend's back and lie to them? I honestly don't know. Regardless, now moving on to Season 8, which has 2 entries on the list. Episode 9, the Non-Compete Clause, and Episode 24, Father Knows Beast. The message behind the non-compete clause is really bad, I won't deny that, but I actually found the rest of the episode to be quite enjoyable. We get some more very casual Young Six and School of Friendship slice of life, while Rainbow Dash and AJ are actively trying to screw each other over. And while that episode might be relatively easy to compliment, the next one is going to be much more of a challenge. Father Knows Beast is honestly probably in my top 3 least favorite episodes in the entire show. And you know what? I'm just not even gonna try. There's only so much I can cover during this video, and the faster we move on, the faster we can go to more interesting episodes. So, Season 9 also has 2 episodes to cover, and just like Season 8, one of them is centered around Rainbow Dash being an idiot, and the other is just a Spike episode. 246 Great is probably the worst episode for Rainbow Dash's character arc in the entire show. After 8.5 seasons of character growth, they just throw that all out the window because obviously it's much more important to let every creature know that cheerleading is not cool enough for some pony as awesome as Rainbow Dash. The one thing I do really like about this episode is how we finally get to see some character growth in Smolder. I always kind of felt like her joining the cheerleading squad was her finally realizing she doesn't have to, quote-unquote, act cool all the time. Plus, you know, the way she went up against Rainbow Dash in this episode already proves how much of a badass she really is. And as much as I like Dash, she really needed that reality check in this episode. And for the last episode in G4, we have Dragon Dropped. Now, was it fun to see Rarity lose her mind over Spike for once? Yes, it was. Did I, when I first watched this episode, not really realize the really weird implications this episode had? Oh, 100%. When I first watched the episode, I was genuinely laughing at the fact that the roles were reversed for once. And that will also be the positive thing I say about this episode, because like I just mentioned, at that time, I didn't really think much about the weirdness of this entire situation. But now, moving on to the final 4 episodes, all of which are from G5. And honestly, with how G4 focused my audience seems to be, I was really expecting to see more G5 episodes in this list. Then again, I could literally see the votes on the polls drop from 1100-1200 every day to like 6 once we moved from G4 to G5. So I guess most of you just stopped voting once you saw episodes you might not have seen. Anyways, the first 3 episodes of Make Your Mark are all on here because they got absolutely destroyed by the movie, which got a total of 91% of the votes. And should I have excluded them because of that? Maybe. But I also wanted to give at least some more G5 representation on this channel. And besides being completely smoked, the animations and dialogue in the first 2 chapters are also very rough at times. Take the very first Make Your Mark episode, for example. The beginning of the episode is actually quite alright, but then about halfway through there's this scene, followed by this dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Faux show.
I really don't know what to say about this, honestly. It's just not good, and I have no idea how this got past review. The same with the ending of the episode. There's just a bunch of random magic shenanigans happening with no explanation at all, which is actually a very recurring theme throughout all of G5. However, I did really like all the Zip lore we got during this episode by showcasing how different she really is from all of the others and what struggles come with that. Plus, she randomly drops this absolutely valid take near the end.
And guess what? I don't like karaoke. It's the worst. Ugh.
Then, for the second episode, for a nice change of pace, saying something positive about this one is very, very easy, honestly. After all, this is the episode where we finally get to meet Misty for the first time. However, for every positive, there's also a negative, and this episode's negative has to be the existence of Sparky. Just everything about him is annoying. The noises he makes, the way he's portrayed, just everything. And then, for the third episode in a row, Growing Pains is honestly pretty okay. It's nothing special and could have probably been removed from this list if it weren't for...
If you're seeing this, magic is now more powerful than it's ever been. And Earth Pony magic has been activated for the first time in the history of Equestria.
And even though I personally don't really mind Twilight's appearance here, I do understand why not many people voted for it, especially since I also used it as the cover image for this episode in the polls. And for a positive in this episode, I don't really know. Nothing really stood out, honestly. Maybe, like you see here, the fact that Hitch was covered in a suspicious liquid for the first, half of the episode. And I bet all of you who were just listening to this video as background audio just ran back to your computer and phone real quick. I know what you are. And then, for the final episode in this video, Chapter 4, Episode 2, Top Remodel. I actually had to go rewatch this episode to see why it got so little votes. And honestly, I don't see it. It's a very okay episode. Nothing weird, no extremely cringy moments. The only thing that I found really, really stupid happened right at the end. Sunny and Izzy spent the entire episode renovating the entire, now abandoned, Canterlogic factory, seemingly without Phyllis or Sprout's permission, which was already a dumb move. But then, when Sprout actually says this...
It's pretty impressive. And, technically, it is still mine! Booyah!
Which, might I add, is entirely valid, even though he should have said it earlier, Sunny just replies with this.
Is that true?
No way. It belongs to all of us now.
No? The factory is private property. Just because you've been trespassing this entire time and cleaned up the place does not give you the authority to claim this building is now property of the public. Maybe Hitch could do something like that because he's the sheriff, or maybe this would qualify as squatting. I don't know, but can someone please act like a lawyer or something, because at this point I'm kind of invested and I want to know. And with that, we've come to the end of this video. Now, I know especially towards the end there was a lot of G5 criticism, but I do want to end on a positive note, for myself at least. Because oh my Celestia, does the Make Your Mark intro slap. Hot take maybe, but I might genuinely prefer this over the G4 intro. Regardless, I hope you all enjoyed, and make sure to keep an eye out for the next video talking about the best episodes in all of MLP. It will release in exactly 2 weeks, if I can finish it in time at least.